106.7 FM. Without listening to this show, ask those who listen on a regular and you get to be the judge. Panorama is the name of the show, the station's flagship program in English. Perchance you're tuned into the station. Today's Thursday, the 26th of August 2021. You're tuned into the station once again. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Dara usually likes to say that once you get into sometimes around August, it seems as though December is just the kind of thing.
Oh no, for this year it's been like since February, because I don't understand why we're in August already. You cannot tell me that time has not flown by. It has flown by considerably.
For me, it has not.
You think the year has been slow?
For me.
You think the year has been slow?
I think so.
Let's get another opinion. Do you think it's slow for everybody but me?
See?
And then you know.
Okay.
And then you could just see how. Okay, well. In any case, you are welcome to the show today. It is Panorama as usual, and as always, the program runs in two segments. The first being the issue of the day, which runs from now until about 5 minutes to 9 a.m. And our discourse is going to be centered around a case study of the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan. Are there patterns to be aware of? After which, after a commercials break, comes From the Pages, which is where we take you through stories from the dailies. You can connect with us live on Facebook. We are live right now at Splash FM 1067. Drop your comments there on the live video feed. And as the conversation progresses, we will open up the phone lines. In the meantime, though, you can send us text messages on 0704 400 1067 and 0817 444 1067, as well as WhatsApp messages on 0817 555 1067. We have an app as well. Splash FM is the name, and you can search on Google Play Store or Apple iOS Store. It is very user friendly, and as we go on, we will pay attention to your calls. Let us not forget. I am Odera Otaru.
And I am Binga Faye. And we'll proceed straight now to the issue of the day. Conversation today for the issue of the day is going to take an international dimension, and we'll get started now.
The Taliban, an Islamist extremist group, has made a return to power in Afghanistan after 2 decades of conflict with the United States, which led to the death of tens of thousands of people and millions displaced. The group completed their shockingly rapid advance across the country by capturing Kabul on 15 August. The Taliban arose in 1994 amid the turmoil that followed with the withdrawal of Soviet forces from Afghanistan in 1989, having invaded in 1979 to set up the communist government in Afghanistan.
The Soviets were defeated by Islamic fighters known as Mujahideen, a patchwork of insurgent factions supported by U.S. government. The joys of that victory were short-lived, however, as the various factions fell out and began to fight for control, plunging the country into brutal civil war. Against this backdrop, the Taliban, with their promise to put Islamic values first and to battle the corruption that drove the warlords fighting, quickly attracted a following. In 2001, the U.S. responded to the 9/11 attacks on New York and Washington, in which nearly 3,000 people were killed.
Officials identified an Islamist militant group, Al-Qaeda, and its leader, Osama bin Laden, as responsible. The Taliban refused to surrender bin Laden, who was in Afghanistan under their protection. The U.S. intervened militarily, removing the Taliban and vowing to support democracy and eliminate the terrorist threat. Peace talks between the U.S. and the Taliban started tentatively, with the Afghan government pretty much uninvolved, and the agreement on a withdrawal came in February 2020 in Qatar. U.S. President Joe Biden announces that all U.S. troops will leave Afghanistan by 11 September 2021. This brings the number of years of fighting in Afghanistan to nearly 40 years, with many Afghans unable to recall a time of peace.
While everyone wonders about the fate of Afghanistan, where the Taliban will be centered around the case study of the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, there are patterns that we should be wary of. And we have joining us all the way from Germany this morning to look at this issue, Deborah Brown, who is a humanitarian professional working in the Netherlands with an international NGO, and she's supporting the implementation of the DG ECHO, which is European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, which also give grants within Africa and South Asia. Deborah, can you hear us? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Benga.
Okay. All right, great. How
Oh, it's cool. With a very confusing weather, so we're not sure if winter is already coming. But it's been very cool.
Okay, great. Let's. Of course, you did hear during the course of the prologue when we reference to the fact that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, made reference to how the U.S. forces will leave. It mentioned September 11, which seems to be drawing very close. And as a matter of the events that have unfolded in the recent days, it seems as though, even though we understand that Joe Biden didn't start this withdrawal process, it started from the administration of Donald Trump. But regardless, the U.S. is withdrawing its forces. Would you say that was a mistake that should not have happened from the part of the
Well, there are just lots of issues around this particular challenge that Uganda's foreign minister also said that they are going from. Yeah, it's something that has gone through several processes, and then there was even a coup in the U. They should have left. So there's just mixed feelings because it also has to do with human rights. There are lots of people who are leaving because of fears and several other things. But yeah, it's a plan. It was like a signed agreement that the U.S. had to keep up with their own part of the bargain. Yeah.
Well, the reason that the U.S. troops were in Afghanistan in the first place was in response to the 9/11 attacks. Do you think they had any right to then wade in on the fight for democracy in Afghanistan? Shouldn't that have been the sole responsibility of the Afghanistan government?
Yeah. So with this issue, I like to first talk about the context. You know, Afghanistan is more of like an Islamic nation. They are very cultural and they really uphold their tradition, you know, so well. Yeah, but in terms of democracy, if the people do not see democracy the way the West sees democracy, then who should be responsible for dictating how best a certain group of people should live their lives? Well, there are a lot of international standards that protect human rights generally. But look at a country like China, you know, North Korea. There are several other countries. They are doing very well economically. But can we say that because their definition of democracy does not align with standards of U.S., that they should be forced to live their lives a certain way? You know, so with with the battle, you know, the U.S. had to find a way out, you know, to constitute a government that would support them, and then democracy got into the narrative. But it was a good cause, you know. Everything went not sour, because I think these things are like premeditated. I try as much as possible not to be at the emotional part, because I'm a humanitarian, and I actually engage with a couple of people in the field, so I understand that part of you. But then political view, and there were expected outcomes. So this should have been premeditated. And talking about democracy and all of that was just one part of it. But then the U.S. just needed certain part of the Afghan government to support them. So they had to constitute. But then, like a little research I did, I realized that, okay, the first president that they said was democratically elected, he was first appointed in Bonn, here in Germany. And then he was, but like, what can we say about that election? Was it really democratic, or it was more like some persons put in power because they needed to make some things happen? You know, so these are just components that also had to come into play for them to achieve their outcome.
Well, with the Taliban taking over now, there's a lot of fear, especially with human rights, women's rights especially. Afghanistan, well, to say, has come some ways when it comes to women rights and liberation. What do you see happening now with the return of the Taliban in power? Because they are very strict on the Islamic way of life.
Yeah. So, as at between 1995 to 2001, the Taliban was occupying about 90% of Afghanistan.
That's right.
And then there were some they are people that really uphold their culture. So it will shock you that right now in Afghanistan, it's more like a mixed feeling. Some people are celebrating. Yeah, but the media will not show that. But then there are also some other people who are really afraid because of the experience they've had in the past. You know, so they're feared. They're like mixed feelings because they do not believe in democracy, and also they use Sharia law. You know, and so I think that is like the situation. While some people are happy that this is liberation, some persons are really afraid. But then, because this has to do with human rights, you know, people are just very uncertain. Have you wondered why India, China, even Russia, they're already recognizing the Taliban as a government, even the UN? Some of their, how do I put it?
The excesses of sorts.
Exactly, yes. So they signed to that part, and I'm really looking forward to see how they are going to keep their own part of the bargain, because the U.S. is already complying.
Let's talk about that recognition that you mentioned. I was going to come to that point, which seems to be a bone of contention when it comes to the Taliban, and they having to seize power, eventually taking over the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul. They've gotten other territories leading up to that point. Is that central to why the Taliban are doing this?
Sorry, can you go over that again?
I mentioned the fact that the likes of China and some other countries are beginning to toe that line. Would you say that was exactly central to why the Taliban decided to forcefully seize power?
On economic gains. So those countries who are already rushing to say, okay, we recognize you, we're trying to see how this will turn out, we are willing to work with you, they don't care about Afghans. Like, they are only thinking about what they can gain from this. It's what, you know, and for a country like that have really like a large set of extremists, you know, it's normal life for them who understand what human rights is, you know, are really praying that the Taliban's, you know, actually tone down the economy. You know, it's all about the economy, and you would also be surprised.
Want to experience what they think will happen.
It's really lost, you know, their relatives and stuff like that. It's really chaotic because everybody's in panic. People are trying to run away, not just because of Taliban or worked against
1996 to 2001 when the U.S. forcefully evicted them. Initially, they also enjoyed that warmth and pretty warm reception from the large populace at the point in time until they began to reel out some sort of rules, like you mentioned the Sharia thing, girls. I mean, you can't get to watch movies and go to the cinemas and the likes of all of those things that is seen as normal in the, if I could use the word, some other parts of the world. Now that you mentioned that there's now that contrasting the receptivity of the Taliban's now, could you put some sort of number to it if you were to rate it based on your interactions with those in Afghanistan?
Well, maybe I'll say 50-50.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I have Afghan friends over here in Europe too that are like traumatized because they cannot imagine that their country is going to be in Europe. Yeah, so, but then, like I said, now let me bring it home. I'm Nigerian.
That's right.
Think about how much the Muslims in Nigeria really appreciate and honor their religion. Now, if the whole of Nigeria, is more like an Islamic state, and everybody really, really appreciates their religion. There are lots of people in Nigeria who are, how do I put it, who love the Sharia thing because they feel like this is the way of
regulations on the Taliban.
Initial panic, but with time things will begin to settle. I spoke with an Afghan and he was like, let's give them some time. This is really surprising to say. Yeah, let's give them some time. Sorry, not the Afghan soldiers, Taliban soldiers. Yeah, so the Taliban has a structure. They train their soldiers differently, and they also have people who form like an executive arm, people who are trained in leadership, in different sectors. Because they are like it's very organized. They have very.
For how long do they see the Taliban?
Nobody knows if this is how Afghanistan will be. If you always come out to the street and find soldiers with guns, and then the sight of that, it feels like internet stuff. Maybe international government or maybe the UN, it's really having their eyes on what the Taliban is doing. They will be able to maybe regulate them and see how they can check, from time to time. But it only have power, and it took them time to work to get
parts of the country. Was it just 2 days ago that the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna was attacked? And I think it was about 2 soldiers that were reported killed. Another one. The president has come out to say that it's some sort of agenda to smear amnesty to insurgents. In fact, as a matter of fact, I think it's the governor of Borno State who also reiterated this, and he felt it was a good thing for those who are repentant insurgents to...
Yeah, like a lot of these things are really very sensitive, and they are just uncertainties around it, So one would also ask, who exactly are they trying to provide amnesty for? And now they managed to escape, and the government wants to provide an intervention to them. But then those definitions are really not very clear, so we never know, and it's really, really risky. So there are a couple of interventions by humanitarian agencies in Borno State. Some are also even helping to support people who were taken forcefully to join these guys, and they managed to escape. I was part of one of those programs.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, go on, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really a very sad situation, because people are being abducted from their communities and forcefully asked.
Who was forcefully abducted? I mean,
Yeah, so it's the
anybody could be captured
responsibility
and
of.
claimed.
Exactly. And then some of those guys who are also sent back or who are allowed to escape, they might also be spies. Really, it's a dilemma. So the Nigerian government need to really be careful. This group, a terrorist group. People, even children, underage children of less than 15, some are 10, 9 years, that are forced to join these groups and manage to escape. So first they need to be able to define who exactly falls within that repentant Boko Haram category, and then how do they even check that this guy is not a spy or this guy has not been sent, because it's still similar to what goes on in Afghanistan. There are lots of people who fight for the Taliban that also joined the Afghan military group that the
Previous months and in recent times.
So the first thing that came to my mind was that the security system of Nigeria is being threatened, and it's threatened by the bad guys. I also don't like to call those what did you call it? The bandits. I
Right.
don't like to call them bandits, because we distract ourselves with the wrong nomenclature. So people they are from somewhere. I don't know if they are Boko Haram or they are also another terrorist group or a different.
444-1067.
American government via the CIA, they went for covert operations, and that was when they began to train Taliban. So the Taliban were just like a group. So they began to train them. Along the line, the Taliban made the people to understand that they can give them peace and protect them and so on. That was how the Taliban got into power. Now, if we look at it, the United States created the problem for the whole world. And the same thing is happening in Nigeria as well. We are creating some problem for ourselves. The other time when we were talking about the Okada this day, we use miscreants to collect revenue on behalf of the government. All sorts of unlawful activities were going on. And at the end of the day, this might bring out the agitations or,
as well as 0817 555.
The danger in creating a monster, you understand, that they will one day turn back to fight back. You see, the mistake they make on military service, at the end of the day, these are the people that graduated or promoted to the rank of the generals. So now they are now in charge. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. You see somebody that has tasted blood over time, they will not be used. I pray Nigerian case will not be like Afghanistan, but we should be careful. It is better we avoid it than to face it. That is what I would say.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Here is another caller this morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Alara is my name.
Alara.
Calling from Abeokuta.
Thank you for joining us. Go on, please.
First and foremost, like the first caller has said, whatever problem that is emanating globally, America and the United States should be United Nations rather, should be taking, should be responsible for them, because there is nothing that will have happened that you will not find your voice. If Kwale, as like your last person has said, Afghanistan has some mineral resources. Today, it has escalated into need to be concerned with us. They have accumulated list of numbers of people that they have identified by outside. I think we want to know what we have to do in order to address ourselves. And let us do that. We may.
You've heard a lot of the callers. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Angela, good morning.
Good morning, Nicholas.
Yeah, this is Nicholas Maduka.
Go on, please.
Yeah, one of the definitions of a faith by Max Weber is that maintains a locally legitimate of violence. America feels they own the world. I don't know. They have a story called the Manifest Destiny. And they feel they met. There was Confucius. Traditions of the people. React to the people's way of saw American Marines lifting America 4 times in U.S. Army. But the Taliban, when the meaning of Taliban is a student. Taliban in Pashto language is a student. Your guest said they look organized. They don't look organized. They are not the most organized group on earth as we speak. And they have their agenda. America should solve their own problems in their state and allow others. Russia is a world power. China is a world power. Russia and China are 2/3 of the world power. They have shown the answer relationship with the Taliban. And coming down to Nigeria, the area we realize that any injustice anywhere, in the presence of tribe, religion, or faith, what do we call sex? You might be a Christian. Even in Christianity, you have different sects now. Some are Catholics, some are Anglicans, some are sex and denomination are not crimes. They are not human disaster. If a case as come today to Abeokuta, to a 5-star hotel to recruit graduates, I'm telling you that you will see graduates in that interview. Because even if they are all, life expectancy in Afghanistan is even higher than in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for talking to us. Well, Deborah, you did hear lots of the callers as it stands.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly felt the United States.
And one question we need to ask ourselves in response to like the last speaker is, would Al-Qaeda have been stronger, if not for the military intervention of the U.S.? Because looking at the 9/11 attack, would that had happened in several other parts of the world if the U.S. had not intervened and declared war on terrorism? So it's a dilemma. This is an unfortunate situation.
But is it actually wrong to declare war on terrorism? I mean, from the perspective of the U.S.?
Yeah, it's not a wrong thing because, Al-Qaeda became like a risk to the whole world. If they could carry out that magnitude of attack in the U.S., it means they could do it in any other parts of the world. And I think that was why the U.S. got support from several other countries, to intervene in Afghanistan. So it's just unfortunate that Afghanistan was the country hosting this terrorist group. The Lake Chad. They are strongly occupying certain parts of Cameroon, Niger, and that part of Nigeria. There are 2 local governments, I think, Guzamala and Abadan. They are still there. They have leadership, and that was how the Taliban started taking over territories within and see how we will deal with this if we have to deal with this from the core. Because these groups will continue to be stronger and stronger and stronger, and we only pray that they don't overpower the military.
All right, well, let's take a few comments. There are a few comments on Facebook now. Oduoli Darishashon says, good morning, all. There has never been an incompetent government such as this since the foundation of the world. Well, that's a bit harsh. They have the resources to track and arrest people outside the shores of the country while they keep doing mayhem within the country. This is beyond banditry. Like the U.S. was incompetent when the Pentagon military headquarters was attacked on 9/11. Like when the UN head office and police headquarters was attacked in Abuja when GEG was president. Our country has been under attack since 2007. Making politics out of it because it supports your narrative is evil. Thank you. We also have a few comments on WhatsApp. Nicholas says, America raised and trained bin Laden. When you ride on the back of a tiger, you end up in it. At the end of the day, was it not Pakistan bin Laden was found?
Please, I have to chip in one thing.
You have 1 minute now.
September 11 clear. September 11 issue, WTC is a big nation.
That sounds more like an allegation, though. On that, we're not exactly sure. So.
And the center can no longer hold. The only thing that can solve security problems of the country is by restructuring and granting state police.
All right.
The federal government policing system has failed and can no longer hold and is making the center fall apart, even the component region in turmoil.
We'll have to proceed on a break now, but let's thank Deborah for being a part of the conversation. All the way from Germany. Deborah, by the way, is a humanitarian professional currently working in the Netherlands with an international NGO supporting the implementation of DG ECHO, that is European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations. Thank you, Deborah, for joining us from Germany.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you a nice show.
All right. Thank you very much, Deborah.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
You too.
Okay, bye.
So we'll proceed on that break. When we come back from the pages is where we'll get started with. Stay here.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
ọ̀pọ̀ ogun ni kì í tán bọ̀rọ̀bọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀ kì í kú kì í sá bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kì í díbàjẹ́ èyí ilé iṣẹ́ àgbájọ homes and property Nigerian limited ṣe ní àǹfààní mìíràn ilẹ̀ wọn tó wà ní randa 200,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 100,000 lẹ́ẹ̀sán ilẹ̀ wọn ò ṣẹlẹ̀ phase 4 200,000 òun náà tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti sọ 100,000 àǹfààní gbé tán ni ilẹ̀ sódẹ́kẹ́ 500,000 tẹ́lẹ̀ lọ́rọ̀ báyìí 250,000 lẹ́ẹ̀sán àgbájọwọ́ tip-top land phase 2 lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ alámọ̀lá barak ló wà 150,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 75,000 lẹ́ẹ̀sán lórí ìdajì owó tẹ́ ẹ bá san ni o ẹ láǹfààní láti gba ilẹ̀ yín lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. ilẹ̀ okun bẹ ní òṣèlè àti alábàtà tẹ́ ẹ bá ti ra plọ̀tì mẹ́ta ẹ ó gba ìdajì bó sì jẹ́ 8338.
àǹfààní ìṣísílẹ̀ di ọgbọ̀njọ́ oṣù kẹjọ tí a wà yìí.
torí pé àràkún laṣọ gbági.
Your household and give units. Attend to them quickly so that they can visit every household in your community. Maintain physical distance of 1.5 meters when talking with the distribution team. The nets are free. It's must when going out.
láìlẹ́gbẹ́ yìí kọjá rẹ o. ìlàjì owó ra odidi púlọ̀tì kan. bí ó bá sì wá jẹ́ ìlàjì lágbára rẹ kálásìkò yìí. ìlàjì owó ìlàjì ni wàá fi ra ìlàjì. àti tún lè ra ìlàjì táǹtà ní 100,000 naira tẹ́lẹ̀. ní 50,000 naira péré. àti honey drop garden máwùkọ́. country garden ayétòrò road. gbogbo ẹ̀. sanwó ìlàjì. kó o gbódìdí púlọ̀tì kan ní o. ọjọ́ márùn-ún péré ló kù sóni. àǹfààní yìí máa kásẹ̀ ńlẹ̀. pé 090-3377-3189 090-3377-3189.
You fit fly.
Wow, You Fit Fly brings to you another wonder as we embark on a holy pilgrimage to the kingdom.
$11190 tàbí.
Àṣàbí ni orúkọ mi. Èmi ni àkọ́bí.
Ọ̀rẹ́ tòótọ́ kan ṣoṣo fún àwọn ọmọ wa. Àṣeyọrí wa yìí ṣeé ṣe nípa fèrè okòwò rẹ̀.
Tó bá jẹ́ ti ìdílé Adélọ́rọ̀ pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ iléeṣẹ́ ABL.
Ọdún Kérésìmesì àti ọdún tuntun máa dùn yùngbàyùngbà lọ́dọ̀ tiwa.
Iléeṣẹ́ ABL wà ní nọ́mbà 47 Purple House Ìtòkú Road, Ìtamọ́rìn Junction, Abẹ́òkúta, Ògùn State. Ẹ pè 090-2657-7587.
Splash 06.7 FM.
Welcome back to Panorama.
4. CBN threatened, say, is a serial defector.
Interest. What ingrained interest? The so-called presidency at that line as bringing up a new, it is now able to provide 5,000 or 6,000. Then we can stand up and dictate to say, look, don't come here. You pay for the land, you put in, and talking would not do.
Criminality in the country. How do you see that?
Definitely for most Nigerian schools that these people have gone to attack. Okay? Telling me they are trying to make a scene. Okay? The NDA is a school. Of course, yes, it's a military school. You would have some level of 1 or 2 soldiers or 3 or 4 carrying guns around the fence or the gate. This is not the thing. This is not the main deal. The main deal was when they would go into army barracks, when they would go to military posts, where all the ammunition, where the soldiers were supposed to be battle ready at any particular time, and they attack and kill our soldiers. I don't know. I feel sorry for those people that lost their lives in the NDA attack, but the point is that is not the case. The case actually lies in when they had been attacking all these military formations that are supposed to have been battle ready. A school is not supposed to be battle ready. So we should go back and start listing those times when they are. It is not supposed to be, look, Nigeria has become totally unsafe. To just be happy, like, or was it a terrorist attack? We need to know.
Let's proceed on.
Cleanser egbògi àtẹ́jẹ̀ṣe tí bàdọ̀tí ara wọ̀ yá ìjà rẹ̀ wọ́n mọ́lẹ̀ ṣe wọ́n yẹbẹyẹbẹ inú tó ń kú tó ń dàrú gbòmìtẹ̀ ni wọ́n gbé Veneton cleanser jáde.
gẹ̀jígẹ̀ níbi kátàlẹ̀ lọ́nà tó ṣàrà ọ̀ tí ń tà ní 200,000 naira tẹ́lẹ̀ lè máa rà lẹ́dínwó 100,000 naira péré ẹ sì tún lè ra ìlàjì tá ń tà ní 100 plọ́ọ̀tì kan ní o ọjọ́ márùn-ún péré ló kù.
106.7
Panorama.
There are some herdsmen, law abiding. They are also attacked. Their cattle stolen by even when you have drug cartels, because it was to go and separate the issues. What's it called? Resolutions. We have people who are sociologists, anthropologists, historians, and all of that, whom you can set up, and they would find out for you what the problem is, and you may realize that you don't have to send in one soldier. If you resolve those issues, all these problems in some areas will just be one plot or two plots of land that is causing the problem, in a boundary, and you will take care of them.
Read briefly, or the ones that Dr. Ashimi has spoken about. The numbers are 08. We have to wrap this up in about 10 more minutes.
University for those with questionable certificates and for the NYCs. Whether we separate the issue, whether they are cultural, religious, banditry, the truth is that lives of innocent law-abiding citizens are lost. From the amount of conduct upwards and the equivalent in the we are becoming a laughing stock. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for talking to us. We can take more calls. 0817-444-1067.
Incidentally, he comments this grazing reserve bill will be the ultimate test to distinguish between the distinguished senators and indistinguishable senators. That's from Nicholas. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Is there any secret?
Much for talking to us.
Yes, I can actually answer that question. And for Nicholas, you see, we are not just becoming a laughing stock. We are already a laughing stock. And for the second caller, you see, there is switched off. And so the singular thing that go to the farms. And so the loans they have taken, they are not able to pay back. If something I didn't show, you have spended energy, you have spended our resources, our hope also, we placed highly on you.
Government called these people to interrogate them as concerning their threats, and also the sheikh who threatened.
The problem, if the foundation spring up in the near future, they might even be on the verge of coming out, but we might not know. And on the issue of the agriculture
Against Buhari, it is a fight against.
It's not the entire nation which will benefit all the people living in the nation. I think our loyalty is to the government of the day. So whatever they like, they do. They know themselves that they have a limited time, and you will see. But by the next administration, most of the people in this administration, they'll be the one condemning this administration, providing solutions.
And you get into